Hello, welcome. I was doing some work on this lovely Saturday in Bali and had some inspiration to share my story about how I found my success with human design and some tips and some thoughts on how I think the system really works and how you can also find what's aligned for you and what success is for you. So, I am almost actually at the 7-year mark of my human design journey. And it's been quite a journey, of course, but my sort of story of getting to where I am now and finding the success that I have with HD school and with my business started quite a while before that, several years before that. And so I want to share about that because I think sometimes we get stuck in this idea that we need to know what we want and we need to know exactly where we're going, when I really think a huge part of the process of finding success in a way that's actually aligned for us is through allowing the next steps to unfold. Because where I'm going to start this story and to get to where I am now, I couldn't have dreamt of teaching human design, of doing what I'm doing, because I'd never heard of it and I wasn't really into that stuff back then. And so sometimes you need to take steps in a direction that isn't your ultimate goal because you don't know what that is yet. So let's start from sort of the beginning. This is probably going back about 10 years ago. I was living in Calgary, Alberta in Canada at the time. I had just moved there from Dubai. I used to work in the hotel world and I was quite miserable. And I was out for dinner with one of my dear friends that I grew up doing ballet with and dancing with, and she was an occupational therapist. And sorry, I need to block some people. Going live on Instagram is always an interesting experience, you know? And so I was out for dinner with this lovely friend of mine, and she's an occupational therapist, and she was really reflecting back to me how miserable I was. And I was very, very miserable in the job that I had working in hotels. I won't get into it, but I wasn't happy. And one of the things I had been interested in for a really long time was this idea of nutrition. And so she encouraged me to actually sign up for a nutrition course. And that's where this journey kind of starts. So I signed up for a course online for nutrition. Hi, Danny. One of my best friends just joined. So I signed up for this course online for nutrition, and good morning. And I honestly didn't really use it. It wasn't really a great course, but that started the ball rolling because it was this recognition that where I'm at right now is not where I want to be, and I want something to change. I had a dream to do something different, to do something that felt fulfilling. And at that time, I thought that nutrition might be that thing for me. And so I started doing this online course, and then I ended up going to a fitness and nutrition conference that was hosted in Calgary where I was living, because it was like, okay, this is another step on the direction of what I thought at the time I wanted to be doing. So moving in the direction of what felt like alignment. Now listen, at this time, I didn't know anything about human design. I'd never heard of it. I don't think alignment was a word that I ever really used. I just knew that I was miserable and wanted to do something different with my life, right? So I also had this dream, and I'd had this dream from, I don't know, for years and years. Like right when I kind of finished university, I think I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and I was like, oh, that's what I want. You know, I want to travel the world, and I want to have a job that I'm not stuck in an office. And here I was stuck in an office. I was traveling the world a little bit because I worked in hotels, so I moved around, but wasn't what I wanted. So I went to this conference, and at this conference, this fitness and nutrition conference, one of the courses that they offered there was around life coaching. And so I decided to sign up for a life coaching certification. Listen, if we were to count all the certifications I'm going to mention in this story, it would be a lot, right? Let's not do that. But I joined this life coaching certification. So I signed up for that, and I pleaded with my husband at the time. I'm divorced now, but please, 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 I really want to do this. I really want to sign up. And it's like, well, didn't you just sign up for this nutrition course? And now you want to sign up for this other thing? And what are you doing, you know? And so I signed up for this life coaching certification, excuse me. And it was left a lot to be desired, quite honestly. I did not feel equipped at all. Hey Jess, welcome. I did not feel equipped at all to coach people after that. The coaching skills was one thing, but it was like, that's one piece of it. Running a business is a whole other piece of it, right? And so I did that and I started learning in that direction. And then I signed up for another life coaching certification in NLP specifically because, again, I felt like the course that I did wasn't really enough and didn't really give me enough skills. And I started working with a couple of clients at that time, mostly just for practice, while I was still doing my hotel job. So that was kind of the first few steps: getting interested in nutrition, taking a nutrition course, going to this nutrition conference, doing the first life coaching certification, doing the second life coaching certification. And then from there, this is what I love, okay? And this is the point that I really want to make throughout all of this, is that as you take steps towards what you believe is your alignment at this time, new steps are going to be unveiled to you that weren't there before. So the next part of this story is that because I was doing this life coaching stuff, trying to anyways at the time, again, this was like in 2014, I started learning more about it and how to have a coaching business. And at that time, Facebook groups were really popular. And so I joined this Facebook group of some coach and I started getting connected with these business coaches. And so through being connected with this business coach, there was one, and she had this business program that I really, really wanted to sign up for. And I remember I was away on vacation, not vacation, it was just like a weekend away. I worked in hotels, so we got hotels really cheap. And with my husband again at the time, and I was like, please, I really want to do this. Like, I know I'm going to be successful. Like, sort of, listen, I didn't really know it at the time, but I really wanted this dream of having a business and traveling the world and not being trapped in an office and doing something that I felt really passionate about, and personal development, and, you know, living a life that made me happy was something that was really important to me, and being able to help other people was something that was really important to me. And he was a big no for that. You know, the course was, I think, $5,000, maybe $6,000 USD at the time. I'm Canadian, so that was a lot of money for me to invest. And he was like, absolutely not. You're not doing this. And so that was, you know, part of that story. But through finding this course that I really wanted to sign up for, I met the woman that was this business coach. And through kind of a long chain of events that I won't go into full detail with here, I ended up connecting with her a little bit more personally because I helped her out with some hotel stuff. Because again, I used to work in hotels, right? And so through that, she found that I was so helpful and so kind and so lovely that when her assistant just randomly quit one day, she reached out to me and was like, hey, I know this is kind of out of the blue, but you are so helpful. Any chance you would be interested in being my virtual assistant? And at that time, my husband and I were just about to move down to the US, and I was thinking about leaving hotels anyways, and it was perfect timing because then I didn't have to take a job at this hotel in the US that I didn't really want to work at. And I don't know why people send me requests to be in my video. No, I don't know how to deny it. Anyways, I don't do a lot of lives. I'm starting to do more of them, but I'm still figuring them out. So kind of just randomly, I started working as a virtual assistant for this woman. And like I said, if I didn't take the steps in terms of doing the life coaching, joining the Facebook groups, I wouldn't have been connected with her. And so through working with her as her assistant, I learned so much about business, about success, about all of this stuff. She also had a money coaching program, which I believe I joined before I started working for her. And so I was working on my money mindset, and through working for her, I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about running an online business, all of these things. It was amazing. And it was actually through working for her, she hosted a retreat for her clients in Paris one year. This was 7 years ago now. And one of the coaches that she hired for the retreat to work with her clients did human design. And this coach was so kind as to run my human design for me. And that was my first time. That was the first time I heard about human design. So that was September 7 years ago. So we're almost at the 7-year mark, which is significant in human design, which is interesting. And so I remember really clearly at that retreat, sitting at the back of the room. It was at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. It was very fancy. And I was the only manifestor, which isn't surprising because manifestors are only 10% of the population. So yeah, serendipity, exactly. And it was just this strange feeling of like, wait a second, if manifestors are the ones that are supposed to be, powerful and have this ability to impact and initiate things, how come I'm getting paid, I don't know, like $20 an hour, whatever it was at the time, sitting at the back of the room, and everybody else in the room are projectors and generators and manifesting generators, and they all have like 6 and 7 figure businesses? Like, what's going on with that, right? And as she spoke about manifestors, it woke up something in me that was like, I think this is true. I think I have this ability inside of me. I think I have this capacity, but I knew I was so far from it and so out of alignment, which makes a lot of sense because manifestors are often very, very conditioned out of being a manifestor, because it's tricky to raise a manifestor child that's just going out initiating everything. And I grew up in a family of projectors, and I feel like I heard a lot growing up, like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, My mom, dad, brother, they're all projectors. So I got really seen at that. And then as timing would have it, sorry, one second. As timing would have it, about 2-3 weeks after that, I think, I ended up leaving my husband. And we were sort of in a separation, getting back together period. And so after that, just after I found human design, not because of human design, but I think the stars were just sort of aligning at that time to create a new future for me, I left my husband. And so I moved back to Toronto, and that was really tricky because I left with, I think I took $1,000 from our joint bank account, which is maybe not the smartest idea on my part, but I just wanted out. I just wanted to be gone. I wanted a new life. And so I was getting paid, $2,000 or $2,500 a month, I think it was. And I went and lived with actually my best friend that was on this live at the beginning. And I went and lived with her for a little bit, and continued working for this coach, and continued struggling, but really continued with human design because it just kept calling me. And you might relate to that. Let me know if you do. But it felt like there was something there for me, and I couldn't ignore it. And so I kept learning about human design. And at that time, like, I really didn't have a lot of money. I was living paycheck to paycheck, like no other. I wasn't even paying rent at the time because I couldn't afford it. And I was living with my best friend. She was kind enough to let me stay with her when I left my husband. And so it was a tricky time, but I was really committed to human design at the time because it just felt like there was something there. And at the time, I couldn't afford to study human design. 7 years ago, there wasn't any human design content really on Instagram. There was very little on YouTube. None of it made a lot of sense. And I just kept taking the same sort of 2 books out of the library on repeat, one from Karen Curry Parker, or Karen Curry, I think now, one from Chetan Parkin. And that was it. Those were the only resources I had access to. And I just kept taking them out and kept trying to learn them and kept trying to find podcasts or something about it, which again, at that time, 7 years ago, there just wasn't a lot of it, right? But I did what I could. And I started learning more about my human design, about my strategy, about my authority, and these things were really transformational for me. And I, at the time, was trying to start my own business, and I was finding it really, really challenging because I was burnt out and I didn't realize it. I was just exhausted. And as I went through time, it just like new levels of understanding of my strategy and authority kind of kept becoming unveiled to me. And eventually, after I think like a year and a half, I enrolled in a human design certification. I never actually did the jump through the hoops to finish it because, I'm a manifestor. What you gonna do? You're gonna make me jump through hoops? I'm not gonna do it for the most part. But I ended up learning from so many different sources and really getting into human design and really studying human design. And from there, I started doing readings for other people. And I had left the job I was talking about with the business coach. I had started doing a social media manager job for another coach who kind of fired me, actually. It was again a story for a different day. It just wasn't a good fit. But I took that as a sign from the universe, which again, manifestors aren't really designed to get signs like that, but I took it as a sign that like, okay, I'm gonna go all in with my business. And I failed miserably. And I started having panic attacks, and I just was not doing good. And So I decided to go and get a job, and I went and got a serving job. And I feel like I talk to people about this a lot who are in the process of aligning themselves, because sometimes there's a bit of a period of, I don't want to call it destruction, but a bit of a period of destruction when you're going through this alignment process. Some people, depending on what your path is, everyone's path is going to be different, but sometimes you need to destroy things and burn things down a little bit before something new can really be created, right? So that's where I was at, and I decided to go get a serving job. I used to work at the Earls in Toronto in the financial district, if anyone knows. It was rough. I was working 12, 13, 14-hour shifts. I wouldn't get home from work until, 5 in the morning some days. I was so exhausted that I used to fantasize, and I didn't realize how messed up this was at the time, but I used to fantasize frequently about falling and hitting my head and getting a really bad concussion to the point that I was in a coma, not a really bad coma, but just for a week or something, so I could wake up hydrated and rested. That's how burnt out I was. I was just regularly blacking out, walking around and fantasizing about being in a coma. So I say this partly, I'll probably talk about this more at some other point, but someone asked me, what do I do if I am trying to follow my human design and trying to follow my strategy and authority, but I have a 9-to-5 job, or I have this situation that doesn't fully allow it. Yeah, me working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week also didn't allow for my alignment at the time, but it was still a step in the right direction, because being able to support myself and having that foundation, which I'm a 2-4 profile, so a line 4 is a foundational line, so it's a line 1. And so if you have a 1 or a 4 in your profile, or if you have a lot of those in your design, having a solid foundation is really important. And I didn't have a solid foundation financially, in my business, in any realm at that time. So getting a job, even though I was exhausted, was still a step towards alignment for me at that time. So at that time I was doing human design readings still. Not a lot, because I didn't have a lot of time to, and I was studying human design when I could, which again, didn't have a lot of time to because I was working so much. And at one period, I guess the restaurant had slowed down after Christmas or something. This was in 2019, 2020, over the winter. And I really decided, okay, I had hired a business coach that fall because I had saved up some money for my serving job. And she actually told me not to, because I really wanted to teach human design. And she was like, no, you can't do that. You're not going to make any money. You don't have a big enough audience. You have to just do coaching and do one-to-one work, because that's how you're going to make enough money. And so I listened to her, which again is a manifestor. Maybe I shouldn't have, but still it was learning, right? And I started working with people one-on-one, and I started teaching human design. So this was 4 years ago now, is when I started doing my first master classes, and I'm still doing them on occasion. And I was getting coaching clients, which was great, because that gave me enough money to not need to be at the restaurant all the time working. And so I had more space in my life in order to progress with my business with human design, which was amazing. And during that period, I remember, I think I forgot to mention another coaching certification that I did. So I did another coaching certification after I got divorced. This was an in-person one. It was another NLP coaching certification. So at this point, I had 3 coaching certifications. I had some nutrition courses under my belt. I was, whatever, just not that I had a lot of money to spend, but I would constantly invest in myself because I wanted a different life. And I knew that to have a different life, I had to make choices that were going to move me in that direction of a different life, right? So where was I in the story? One of the things that the coach from the coaching certification, the third one, recommended was some kind of marketing practice that she used, I think using Facebook groups or something. And I had this, no joke, to go and do this marketing stuff that she recommended in Facebook groups. I'd had it on my to-do list for a year and a half, okay? I had the same thing on my to-do list for a year and a half, and I never did it because it just felt awful to me. And I didn't want to, but it's that's what she said is what you needed to do to be successful. And that's how she got to be successful. And I just didn't want to do it. And so I remember so clearly, I was on my way home from the restaurant one day. It was winter, there was snow. I was on one of the streetcars in Toronto. I was just getting off to walk back to my apartment. And it hit me that I don't have to do stuff that I hate. Like, this is my business that I'm creating. This is my life that I'm creating. And I'm not going to get to a point of loving what I'm doing and where I am by doing things that I hate. Now, listen, sometimes there are things that are difficult to do that you just need to do as part of, building a business. And sometimes that's just what it is, and that's okay. But doing things that you actually hate or that feel against your values or however you want to put it, you don't need to do that. And that was a big realization that I had, and a big permission slip that, like, hey, I actually get to do things in a way that's aligned. That's the whole point of this, right? And so I dropped that, and it's like, that's when I started doing more of the classes. And I had been posting content on Instagram for a while about human design. So I was starting to get, I think I had a couple hundred followers on Instagram or something. And I was starting to grow my business in that way. And then, like I said, this was 2020, so I think we all know what happens next. And it was actually a blessing for me at the time, because my main job was in the restaurant. So the restaurant obviously closed. I was living in Toronto. We had one of the biggest lockdowns, or the longest lockdowns anywhere in the world. And so I rested. I slept. I truly took that opportunity to sleep. And I swear I slept for like 6 weeks straight. And I was still doing my client work. I was still doing readings, but I obviously wasn't working in the restaurant. And from there, so this is another tip to take away from. If you are working on following your human design and getting into alignment, and you feel like the invitations aren't coming, or the urges aren't coming, or the things to respond to aren't coming, or like whatever it is, right? If you feel like, if you feel like the things aren't coming, it is quite likely because you don't have space in your life for things to come, right? You don't have space in your life, space in your aura, space in your energy for the more aligned things to come into your life. So you need to make the space. You need to get rid of the things that aren't aligned. And it's not like, listen, maybe you can't do it all overnight, and that's okay, but you need to start making space, right? And so after this, month and a half of sleeping and going for walks in the morning and meditating, I was really consistent at the time. I was doing these Joe Dispenza meditations that I absolutely loved. Very much have fallen off track because it's like 45 minutes and it just feels like a lot, but I want to start doing them again because I love them. Anyways, tangent. That is when I got the urge to create HD School. So as I got that urge, I remember I was in the park in Trinity Bellwoods Park, if anyone's from Toronto or knows that park. I was there with a friend, and I was telling her that, like, hey, I got this urge and I think I want to teach human design. Or I'm like, I really have this strong urge for this thing specifically called HD School. But I was like, who am I to teach human design, There's other people that have been studying this for 20 years. What were the meditations called? They're blessing the energy centers, but he has many, many versions of this, and I find 90% of them are really weird. If you've never listened to Joe Dispenza meditations before, like, sometimes they're just auditorily a little weird, but this one isn't weird to me. So anyways, I don't know how to distinguish it, but just as an FYI, some of them I think are really weird, and this one I think is really beautiful, and I don't know how to tell the difference. I've tried to look on his website and I don't know. So I don't know if you can get samples of them on his website or something something to check out, but I really loved the Blessing the Energy Centers meditations. So I was telling my friend, I really want to do this, but like, who am I to do this, essentially? I've only been studying human design at that point for like 3 years. I just didn't feel like I could do it, but it was like, but if I want to teach human design, then I need to follow my human design, right? And I need to follow my strategy and authority. And as a manifester, I'm getting a very, very clear, strong urge to teach human design and create this thing called HD School, which, by the way, is open for enrollment right now. If you're interested, you can find the link in my bio or send me a DM if you have any questions. But with HD School, I was telling her, and like, I don't think I can do this. Like, other people already teach this. And she was like, yeah, but I don't want to learn from other people. I want to learn from you. And when she said that, I felt like I had this visual moment of all these pieces clicking together, where it's like, I feel like I could see, I had this visual image of the body graph, right? With all of the gates kind of sticking off, all the centers and whatever. And seeing that my body graph is going to connect energetically with certain people perfectly. And Aw, thanks, Jessica. She says that she loves HD School, such an amazing investment. Yes, I'm so happy that you're in it and that you get to join us. So what was I just saying? So yeah, I felt like I could see how my body graph is going to connect with certain people, and other people's body graphs are going to connect with other people. And that's why I just don't really buy into the whole competition thing when it comes to anything really, because your energy is just gonna connect with certain people differently, and some people aren't going to resonate with me, and they're probably not here, and great, I hope they find someone else that they do resonate with and that they can learn from. But for the people that are meant to learn from me, like, yeah, I need to create this course because they're waiting for me to do it and they don't even know yet, right? And so I took, as a, emotional authority person, I took some time and I let myself ride the emotional wave, because I initially actually thought that I was going to record all of HD School first and then launch it, and I thought I was going to be able to get it done in a week, which, hilarious, it took me 4 months, and I'm still adding things to it 4 years later. But I decided that, okay, I'm going to launch this in August, and I'm going to give myself time to, to practice teaching, to share more free classes, to create more YouTube videos, all of these things. And from there, I decided I'm going to launch this course. Before I created, I'd created like the first few modules. And if no one joins, then okay, that's going to be embarrassing, and I'll just refund their money and go on with my life and, I don't know, cry or something. And I figured that if just 5 people join, it'll be worth my time, right? And 23 people joined that first round. And then I spent the next 4 months working like crazy creating it. And then the next round, I think like 50 people joined. And the next round, more people joined. And it gives me goosebumps thinking about it, but we have over 400 students in HD School right now, which is just like, I will cry if I think about it too much, because it's like I think of the impact that human design has had on my life, and I think of all the students that are learning about it, and I think of the impact that they're having on everybody else that they're sharing human design with, and I'm just really grateful. I'm really grateful that I get to do this work. I'm really grateful that I get to share it, whether you join HD School and actually go deep into human design with me, or whether you just are here on Instagram and learning from my free content. I'm grateful, because I think the people that are here learning human design are contributing to a better world, and to happier humans, to more aligned humans. And I think if we were all more aligned, the world would just be a far, far better place. Someone asked, what if the body graph doesn't really connect? If your body graph doesn't connect with mine at all, you're not going to be here, because you're not going to be interested in me, because there's nothing there really. So generally that's what it is. When there's no connection, there's just no interest, there's no energy. So with HD School, it's like I really just wanted to create, as I was learning human design, I got really frustrated often, because sometimes it was just like I wanted to learn. I was so hungry to learn human design, and the program I was in was just moving slowly. And like, I share this example all the time because I feel like I was like traumatized this day. I just had a fit, that I was trying to learn about whatever channel it was, and it was like an hour-long class, and only 3 minutes or so of that class was actually talking about the channel. And it was just infuriating, because it's like my time was precious. I was working so much, and I was trying so hard to learn as fast as I possibly could. And now I just spent an hour going through this entire call for 3 minutes of learning. It was really frustrating, which was a big part of the inspiration for why I've structured HD School and organized HD School so well, where it's so easy to reference and so easy to learn exactly what it is you're trying to learn, instead of having everything just lumped together. But anyways, all of that being said, what I want to get across is that your alignment, like, you might not know what your alignment is right now. You might think you do. And it's like, I am really encouraging you to take steps in that direction. Even, sometimes I get emails from people that want to join HD School, but they say, I don't think I want to use this professionally. And it's like, that's okay. If you're getting called to move in that direction, to go deep in it, there's a reason for it. Maybe in HD School, you're going to meet your best friend, or you're going to meet a future business partner, or it's going to lead you into a different direction for something that's even more aligned for you. But that's where it's like, part of the reason that I believe I have found the success that I've had is, and the reason or the ways that I think you can as well, is by trusting yourself in your aligned actions and in your aligned directions. And the more that you can move in that direction of what feels like the next right step, that's when the next step is going to be revealed for you. And step by step, little bit by little bit, you get more and more and more aligned, right? And that's the point. And so I say that because, again, 10 years ago, when I was, probably over 10 years ago now, when I was first taking this course in nutrition, I couldn't have imagined that I would be teaching human design, because teaching spirituality wasn't really a thing for me at the time. And so to be teaching something that's like sort of spiritual, as my brand is called, I just wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have been interested in it because I wasn't at that point yet. I needed to go through the journey that I went on. And so I want to encourage you and hopefully inspire you to take the steps that you're designed to take and to follow the things that are calling you, even if you don't know exactly how you're going to use these things or how it's going to make sense. And actually, this is like another funny one with following my strategy and authority, where for years I got urges to do headstands, and I just wouldn't do it because, like, why am I going to do a headstand? Like, I don't know, I just felt like I always lived in small apartments and there wasn't really space, and I was gonna like knock something over, I was gonna hurt myself. And now I still get these urges, and I feel like I get downloads like crazy when I do headstands, and it's like so many things just like come through and make sense. And for whatever reason, I just need to be like upside down or something in order to get a download, which is sort of hilarious. But I'm saying this because I want to encourage you to follow what feels aligned for you and to take the actions that feel like they're the right actions, and to give, like, I was listening to a call from one of my mentors the other day, and she was talking about how your future self is so grateful for the actions that you are taking now. And I know sometimes it's scary when we're moving in the direction of something that maybe is a little bit unknown. And this is also one of the things that I like to share about with your strategy and authority in terms of supporting you in making decisions, and what the aligned decisions are, is that there's a difference between trusting your strategy and authority or your intuition and fear. These are very different things. They're very different frequencies. And I tend to find the feeling of fear is really fast, and it has a lot of reasons and it has a lot of excuses, where it's like, oh, but what about this? And what if it doesn't work out? And what if I waste my money? And what if I waste my time? And what if this? And what if that? And blah, 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 is generally what I feel like our fear tends to sound like or tends to feel like. And I find that our alignment, if it's a no, it's just a no. There's not all these reasons for it. There's not all these excuses for it. The excuses and the reasons come from us trying to justify our fear. And so it's like, if you can get underneath the fear to the point of what is aligned for you and how do you trust yourself, because it's like your future self is calling you, your future self is trying to pull you in the direction of what's aligned for you and what the dream is for you and what the possibilities are for you. And your intuition is like offering you these pieces that excite you, that call you, that interest you, because that's the next step. And I often find, again, our intuition, strategy and authority, however you want to look at it, it speaks to us kind of through the path of least resistance. And so I was telling this story on a call to my HD school students the other day, because I feel like this has been happening to me so much lately, is let's say I'm about to leave the house I've just walked out of the house and I think, oh shoot, I need to go back and get my lip balm, or it's like, I want to go put on the lip balm that I have on my desk. It's this one, by the way. And I'm so sad. It's this Glossier Rose one. I love it. And they changed the formula. This is my last tube of it. Anyways, I love it. If you have any recommendations for lip balm, let me know. But I feel like the way my intuition spoke to me was like, ooh, go put that lip balm on. You like that one better than the one that you have in your purse. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go back and put that lip balm on. And then I come back and see that like my AirPods or whatever it was were on my desk. And it was like, it wasn't my AirPods actually, I forgot what it was, but it was something else that was on my desk that I needed to take with me. And I was like, oh, thank God that I got the ping to go put this lip balm on, because I needed this thing and I would have completely forgot about it, And so sometimes our alignment and our intuition speaks to us kind of in these indirect ways, because it's like, you might not be ready, kind of like for me, for example, with where I am now. And this is something that is very aligned for me in my human design in terms of teaching transformational information in a way that makes sense and is easy to digest. Like if human design isn't transformational information, I don't know what is, right? And so like the path of least resistance was like, oh, nutrition. You like nutrition, so go learn about that. And I go to that, and then it's like, ooh, life coaching. You might be interested in this. That's the next step. And then it's like, step by step by step, I gradually get closer. And by no means am I suggesting that I'm like in alignment and all perfect right now. No. But it's like every step I take, I get more and more aligned as I go. And that opportunity is available for you as well. So I just want to think if there's anything else that I wanted to share about this. I think that's probably it. But essentially, I want you to take time to feel into that future self, the life that they want to be, the life that they are living on this timeline, of the dreams that they have, and to allow yourself to feel the feelings beneath the fear that come from moving forward sometimes. And one of the ways to do this, or one of the things I really like to connect with, Dana, I did share what the meditation was. It's the Blessing the Energy Centers. But like I said, there's so many different ones. So most of them I don't resonate with, but this one version of it I do, and I don't know how to share which one was which. So I don't know how to share beyond that. But I think he has like 10 different versions of them or something at this point. But there was one of them that I really enjoyed. So what I would love to offer you in terms of your alignment and moving in that direction is also something to play with, is your human design signature. And so this is based on type. I should probably do a post about this. Let me make a note. Post about signatures. Okay. Coming soon on my Instagram. But to feel into those feelings. What does it feel like for you if you're a projector for success? Like, what does that frequency feel like in your body? If you're a manifestor, what does peace feel like? If you're a generator or a manifesting generator, what does satisfaction feel like? Right? So it's all of these things. Or if you're, reflector, what does surprise feel like? And I was talking about this in my live class the other day, which you still have a couple days to watch the replay of if you would like. In the hotel world I used to work for, we used to talk a lot about this concept of surprise and delight, which I think is a great frequency for reflectors to feel into, because it's like maybe you don't want to be surprised all the time, but I really like the delight, because it's like delight's like a little surprise, like, ooh, I wasn't expecting this, like, ooh, how delightful, and so I think that's a feeling that you can really connect to as well. So feeling into your signature, because that's where your alignment is, and practicing what does it feel like, for me, like tuning into the feeling of peace, but tuning into these feelings and figuring out what these things feel like for you. And like I said with projectors, what does success mean to you? It's not about what society is telling you success is. So I think I'm going to end it there. I hope this has given you some ideas and some inspiration about your own path and your own alignment, and giving you permission in a way to follow the callings that maybe don't make sense, that you maybe don't understand where this is going actually, or what path this is leading you down, but you just feel pulled in that direction, and you feel like this is the next right thing for you, but it just feels a little bit scary, or you feel like it doesn't make sense. Like I said, I have 3 life coaching certifications and some random nutrition certification that I'm never going to use, and that's okay. I've made peace with that. Yes, I've spent a lot of money, a lot of money, because as I made money in my business, I immediately just reinvested in myself in terms of learning about business, learning about human design, going deeper into the work that I'm doing. But I'm grateful, because it's like, even though, yes, there was money spent, it was alignment gained, it was experience gained, it was experiments gained. And it's like, I've learned and grown through all of that. So I just want to ask you to trust your sort of future self that's trying to pull you along the path of your alignment, that's trying to pull you in this direction that they know you're already at, they know that you can go. So I am going to leave it at that. I love you all so much. I appreciate you so much for being here. Leave a comment if you're watching this in the replay. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you have any stories about your own alignment paths. I would love to hear it, because I just love tracing the things that, like, when you look back, you didn't realize that was significant in your story. Like, this random little nutrition course that I took. I didn't realize that was going to take me to this business that I have now. So if you have fun stories like that, drop them in the comments as well. I would love to hear them. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. Thank you so much. Bye.